This is an Irreverent podcast. Check out irreverent.fm for shows from all our friends. Hello and welcome to Exvangelical. I'm your host, Blake Chastain. 2 years ago today, I released a short teaser episode in order to coincide with the Republican National Convention. Evangelicalism has been tied to conservative Republican politics for decades, and it felt like a fitting date to start the show. Soon thereafter, my first episode was published. My guest John and I lamented the evangelical support for then-candidate Donald Trump, and we had trouble envisioning that the evangelicals that raised and taught us would support such a blatantly vile and unchristian man. Then, of course, the election happened. 81% of evangelicals rallied to Trump's support, and ever since, our country and the world has been subject to his abhorrent policies, from the Muslim ban to family separation, and even outright treason like Trump exhibited this week. But of course, kvetching about Trump isn't the sole focus of this show. It just happens to be part of its origin story. When the show started, I reconnected with people from my college days at Indiana Wesleyan and learned about their experiences since then. That would have been enough for it to have been rewarding, but Exvangelical has grown more than I ever thought possible. The Facebook group that began as a patron perk for Patreon supporters of the show was opened up about a year ago, and it now has over 3,000 members, with people sharing their stories and lives, telling jokes and commiserating, and helping others who face similar struggles. Over on Twitter, the Exvangelical hashtag has been used widely to have public conversations about leaving fundamentalist religion. I've also been fortunate enough to be interviewed for Newsweek, Religion Dispatches, Splinter News, and even a German news outlet. People have identified with the term exvangelical, and I am so proud of the way in which those who use it can find common ground with one another despite differing beliefs now. Our shared experiences within fundamentalist religion is a strong bond, and we have much to learn from one another. Of course, there have been detractors too, people who think that exvangelicals are too angry or too negative, but that anger is legitimate and must be felt and expressed as part of the healing process. I've said before on Twitter and elsewhere that exvangelical as a term is apophatic. It describes what it is by defining what it isn't. And to be exvangelical is to repudiate the racist, sexist, homophobic, patriarchal expression of Christianity found in evangelicalism. That doesn't require that you remain a Christian, but it also does acknowledge the past in which you came from. When I started the show, I did so because I believed that a podcast is the best medium to tell these types of stories. A long conversation allows for nuance, and a catalog of long conversations allows for patterns to appear, systemic problems, the sorts of things that exvangelicals describe when they tell their stories. I wanted to let people tell their stories in their own words so that really they couldn't be so easily dismissed. And also so others would know they aren't alone, that they are not the only ones who felt this way, who've faced these same sorts of struggles in being ostracized, being punished. All of those things. So many of us now know that you're not alone, and that's wonderful. And I'm grateful for this platform. I want it to continue, and I want the work to grow. I want to address those more systemic, topical problems directly. And I want to do that with your input and your support. So it's been 2 years, and now I want to hear from you, the listener. Of course, I do make myself available on Facebook and on Twitter to talk to people, but this now, today, is me specifically asking for your opinion. I'm going to be making a short open-ended survey, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And I want to know, what do you think would be a good resource to share here on the show? What sort of content would you like to listen to? What sort of shows do you think would benefit the exvangelical community more? I've told people in the past that I think I'm doing about 20 to 25% of the total amount of work that I would like to be doing for Exvangelical, both the podcast as well as the overall exvangelical community. And at present, I'm really limited by my resources, both monetarily as well as just time. I do have a 9 to 5, and I do all of the work in regards to producing the show. So I do the interviews, I do the research, I do the production and the promotion, and all of those different things. And that just is a time-consuming sort of effort. And because of that, and because I have this sense that there's so much left to do, there's so many things yet to be done, so many stories yet to be told, so many things yet to be exposed, that's why I want your feedback. That's why I would love to hear from you and see what should I put at the top of my list. What should continue? What is working? What is edifying and what isn't? Please go to that link in the show notes and please let me know. I'll be talking about it over the next few weeks, just because I do want to solicit that feedback from you. And if you aren't already supporting the show, there's a couple of easy ways you can do it. The first thing you can do is, and I know that you hear this on other podcasts a lot, but just go over and rate and review it over on iTunes. It's still below 100 reviews, and I would love to be able to, crest that particular hill and secure more than 100 reviews over on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. I can only see the ones that are in the U.S. But if you are able to go and do that, that would be great. You can also support the show monetarily by going over to patreon.com/exvangelicalpod and support it regularly. You can also, if you'd like, you can just issue a one-time donation, and that donation is in the show notes. I'll also be doing some other things like making some Amazon affiliate pages available, where if you shop on Amazon, you could just go and shop on Amazon through my link, and that would support the show as well. This show has become one of the most important things to me that I do, and it's some of the most rewarding work I've ever done in my life. It's been an absolute honor to help share these stories, so many that I can't narrow down and mention a single one in particular. But each and every person that I've spoken to, each one has had such a heartfelt and impactful story that it's been an absolute treasure to do it, and it's something that I want to continue, and I want to make sure that I'm making the best possible product and the best possible thing for you, the listener. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being out there, for reaching out to me, for sending me emails, for following me on Twitter, for joining the Facebook group. All those different ways in which I've been able to connect with you. Thank you for that. I am just floored at the way in which over the last year or two that this community has begun to form, and I'm humbled at the role that this podcast has had in that. So thank you. Here's to another 2 years and many more after that.